Hello everybody, welcome back to the Crooked Hour. Today I'm going to be breaking down the UFC fight night between Mackenzie Dern and Xiaonan Yan. So this is going to be a pretty good fight, I believe. It'll be interesting. It's not the best fight night, not the best main card for a fight night, but it is what it is. Now we're going to go straight over the tail of the tape. Mackenzie Dern 12-2, Xiaonan 15-3, and she was actually 15-1 before coming in the UFC, and her two losses are her two most recent fights, so I think she might have hit a bit of a stunt here at the top of the division. We have average fight time 10 minutes and 57 seconds for Mackenzie Dern and 14 minutes and 7 seconds for Yan. Yan will have a 1-inch height advantage at 5'5" compared to Mackenzie Dern 5'4". They have the exact same reach. They are both orthodox. Mackenzie Dern is the younger fighter. And when we go to the stats, it's very interesting because Yan Xiaonan is better everywhere in the stats besides the submission average. And we're talking striking stats and we're talking grappling stats. But when you watch their fights, it's not quite the same thing. Like, I think right now, and I'll get to my prediction even more later on, I think Mackenzie Dern will win this fight. But if I just went over the stats and didn't watch any tape, didn't know anything, I would think Yan's an underdog. How? Like, how is she an underdog? And I'll show you why. Strikes landed per minute, smaller for Mackenzie Dern at 3.16 and higher for Yan at 5.66. And she's also landing more accurate at 42%. Mackenzie Dern only 35%. Strikes absorbed, Mackenzie Dern's also absorbing more strikes per minute at 4.35, while Yan's only absorbing 3.77. And then we go to the defense, 54% for Mackenzie Dern and 62% for Yan. So we go over all these stats and Mackenzie Dern's lower for all of them. Which for the striking isn't a surprise because I do think that Yan Xiaonan's going to be the better striker here. But Mackenzie Dern is elevating at a good rate. And I believe that she's actually got the more power in this matchup. But not by a heap. I'm not saying she's going to knock Yan Xiaonan out. But she's got the more power. She might stun her and go for a takedown. You never know. And then we go to takedowns. Takedown average 0.46 for Mackenzie Dern and 1.06 for Yan. But the way Mackenzie Dern gets takedowns isn't always a single leg or a double leg. Sometimes it's a sweep. Sometimes she'll pull guard. Sometimes she'll take your back and try and submit you from there, or even take your front like she did against Tisha Torres. And we've only got a 9% takedown accuracy for Mackenzie Dern as well, but I think that also plays into what I was saying. I think she tries for a lot of takedowns, but yeah, she doesn't have the best takedowns, but once she gets it there, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. While Yan Xiaonan, 66% takedown accuracy, but I will just say this now, this takedown accuracy and takedown average for Yan isn't going to matter in this matchup because she will not want to hit the ground for Mackenzie Dern at all. I'm just going to say that now. Takedown defense, 65% for Yan, but when we see her in her fight against Carla Esparza, Carla Esparza landed 3 for 3 takedowns with 7.18 control time, and she finished her in the second round of that fight after landing 3 for 3 takedowns. And once she got the takedowns, Yan was pretty much on the ground for the entire time and looked pretty hopeless off her back. Like, she looked like she didn't know what she was doing, didn't know how to get up. And I think if Mackenzie Dern gets on top, I definitely think we could see the same thing. And then we go to a submission average 2.0 for Mackenzie Dern. You know, she's always trying for those submissions. Now, I think it's funny how the stats don't really show the full picture of this fight, because watching their two most recent fights, I think Mackenzie Dern has improved a lot on her striking compared to how she used to be. She's been training with James Krause, and just in the 2 years, she's made a nice little striking style for herself that also works in her clinch as well. Like, she likes to throw jabs a lot, double jab overhand, especially in the early rounds. And as I said earlier, she does have some nice power in her right hand. She hurt Torres for a second with her right hand. As I say, not enough to maybe get a knockout, but when the judges are scoring that and they see that she's landed a big shot that might pause her opponent for a minute, that is going to matter on the scorecards. But yeah, the biggest concern for Mackenzie, if you're versing Mackenzie, isn't the takedowns. It's the tying you up. She's going to pull guard, but if you don't go to the ground with her, she will wrap you up and ride the front of you. Pause. Yeah, that doesn't sound the best, but it's true. She will ride the front of you. I mean, I know a lot of guys hope for that, especially with Mackenzie Dern, but yeah, that's what she will do to you. And on the side of Xiaonan, I mean, we just have somebody with quick hands, but not the best off her back. Once she gets to her back, I mean, she got exposed badly by Carla Esparza, in my opinion. Once Carla Esparza got her to the ground, she was kind of hopeless. And I think while Mackenzie Dern doesn't have that takedown threat, I think she's equally as good on the ground as Carla Esparza, and I'd even say more dangerous on the ground than Carla Esparza. And once Xiaonan hit the ground, she couldn't even get back up to her feet in the whole first round. Carla landed 3 for 3 with 7 minutes and 18 seconds of control time. But I think a good path to win this for Xiaonan would obviously be just to outpoint it through the rounds, landing more strikes, being more accurate. And I really think she should land more kicks, because when we've seen Dern versus Torres was landing some nice body kicks, and I think if you can pull away 3 rounds to 2 just by kicking and output, I could see Xiaonan winning a decision here through that. But anyway, we're going to go to how to bet both ways. Now, when we go to how Mackenzie Dern's going to win this fight, I have her by sub. I think the sub market is very good. I feel like if it's going to go to a decision, I think it's going to be a very close fight, because I think Xiaonan will have the better striking output, but Mackenzie Dern might have some moments on the ground and landing some of her own strikes, which she definitely could do. But I feel like just the way I seen Xiaonan fight Carla Esparza and getting to the ground, not being able to get up, I think Mackenzie will work down there, and I feel like if she does work, she'll be able to find the submission and find it quickly. As soon as it hits the ground, I do believe Mackenzie Dern will be able to find the submission. But the question that you got to ask is it going to hit the ground? And I think it will. So I think the bet, if you're on Mackenzie, is Dern by a sub, Mackenzie Dern by a sub, or Mackenzie Dern by round 1 sub, because I feel like Mackenzie Dern isn't going to strike too much with Xiaonan. She will, but I feel like she's going to be trying to get it to the ground. Like, if I was Mackenzie Dern, I'd be trying to get this to the ground as quick as possible. And I feel like if she goes in with that game plan and she gets it to the ground, I feel like she could very much finish this in the first round by sub, just because Xiaonan on her back does seem not the best. And to even back up the fact that Xiaonan isn't the best on the ground, I mean, I forgot to bring this up, but it's kind of irrelevant, but it just gives you more of a perspective to how not very good she is on the ground. I mean, she's got 7 TKO KO wins, 8 decision wins, and 0 submission wins. So she's got no submission wins in her 15 wins, and she's actually lost by submission all the way back in 2010, which is a while ago now. But I just think if Mackenzie gets on top of her, especially in that first round when they're not so sweaty and it's not so easy to get out of submissions, and Mackenzie Dern grabs the back or gets on top on full mount and just finds that submission, I could very much see her getting a submission in the first round. Now, if we go to Xiaonan, I got Xiaonan by points. I mean, I don't think she knocks out Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern's never been TKO'd, and while Xiaonan has TKO'd people before, she hasn't done it since 2016, and that wasn't even in the UFC. Since the UFC, she's gone decision, TKO loss, decision loss. So I feel like if she's going to win this, it's just going to be because over the 5 rounds, she's outpointed Mackenzie Dern by strikes. On the ground, I don't see her winning on the ground. I just see it, once it hits the ground, she's getting controlled. On the bottom or on the top, she's getting submission threats. And I feel like she just needs to keep this on the feet, kick a lot, but not kicks so Mackenzie Dern can catch them. But if you're doing straight body kicks, similar to what Tisha Torres did, that could very much outpoint her and maybe even slow her down with those kicks to the body, especially since this is a 5-round fight. Now, if you want to bet on the overall fight, I can't really think of anything to bet, because I was going to go over 1.5 or over 2.5, but I still think Mackenzie Dern is very live for that submission in the first round. And then if I'm on the side of Xiaonan, I'm thinking she's winning by points, which means it goes the whole 5. So I don't really have a way you could bet on the fight overall in this one. And a new little thing I'm going to be adding to how to bet both ways is my overall prediction. And if I'm thinking about this fight, I wasn't sure. I thought Mackenzie Dern might just get outpointed, but it's a 5-round fight. Mackenzie Dern's looking better with the striking. I feel like she is going to just try and take this to the ground, especially if she's seen the fight that Jan had against Carla Esparza. Sure, Mackenzie Dern's not the pedigree of wrestler, but she's just as dangerous on the ground, or more dangerous on the ground. So I feel like Mackenzie Dern gets this to the ground round 1 and submits Jan. That is my official prediction, but overall I'm going to go Mackenzie Dern. Might add her to a parlay. I'm going to play the submission prop, and I might sprinkle a little bit on submission by round 1. But overall, I've got Mackenzie Dern winning this one. I'm going to say she wins at 70-30. Like 70% chance Mackenzie Dern wins, 30% chance Jan wins. Overall, if you want to bet on Mackenzie Dern, just bet on her by a sub. Or if you want to get a little bit spicy with it, round 1 sub. And if you want to go Jan, just go Jan by points. Or, I mean, you could play the money line, but Jan by points is the smartest decision, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, comment who you have down below. If you have Jan and how she does it. If you have Mackenzie Dern and how she does it. If somebody can pick, or multiple people can pick exactly how the fight is going to get it done. So Mackenzie Dern by round 1 sub. Or if you're going to go Jan by unanimous decision, I will shout you out in my next video, in my next how to bet both ways. So yeah, as always guys, thank you all for watching, and as always, have a good one.
The channel is fucking mad.